name is Chris Tasler, and I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications for Second Harvest Food Bank of Southern Wisconsin. We are here today to talk about the importance of creating and maintaining an inclusive space for everyone who visits your organizations, whether they're guests, whether they're workers. And we're also going to talk a little bit about why it's important to Second Harvest to also create an inclusive space at our locations. Now, we're talking about this as part of Second Harvest's commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusion. And while the importance of an inclusive space is not limited to just the LGBTQ+ community, we are talking about this now because to honor the fact that June is Pride Month. And of course, Pride Month celebrates the many, many contributions of the LGBTQ+ community on society and history and really throughout the world. And so that's why we're kind of doing this today. I'm here talking with Kate and Nicole, and they are two of our volunteer project coordinators. Now, the reality is that we have hundreds of volunteers who come through our doors every month. And part of your job, in addition to getting food and making sure they understand what they have to do while they're here, is to make sure that they feel welcomed and make sure that they feel appreciated while they're here. And one of those ways really is to foster that sense of inclusivity, that sense of being welcomed when they walk through our doors. So Kate, I'm just going to start with you. What does it mean, in your opinion, what does it mean to have an inclusive space, and why do you think it's important?
Yeah, creating an inclusive space just means anyone can show up as their true selves and feel safe and respected while they are here at Second Harvest and just in any space. Everyone deserves to feel safe all the time and express themselves how they want. And that's why it's really important at our job to make sure we have that inclusive space. We want volunteers when they come in to feel comfortable and to be able to have fun, not be worried about whether they are being respected or not.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the things that we have learned as an organization of ways to promote equity, diversity, and inclusion is this idea of using pronouns. Mine, he, him, his, right? And so, Nicole, talk a little bit about what does that mean? Because honestly, there's some folks out there that it's kind of a new concept to them of why that's important, and they may not understand why it is. But how does it help in creating an inclusive space?
Yeah, so whenever I greet the volunteers, I always start off by, sharing my name. Hi, I'm Nicole. And then I say my pronouns are she, her, hers. And just by doing that, that allows everyone in the room to understand what my pronouns are. And I think that's really important and a good way to include an inclusive space, because we actually had a volunteer email us maybe like 4 months ago or so, just with so much gratitude and thanking us for sharing our pronouns when we were introducing ourselves to the volunteers, because they were non-binary, and that allowed them to know that we will use whatever pronouns you're wanting to use because we see you, we love you, we value you, and I think that's why it's important to share your pronouns. It allows people to know that they also are safe to share their pronouns.
And how do you think it made them feel? Knowing that not every place that they go to is as open and as welcome, but just really from the second one when they walked in, your first introduction, they're like, okay, this is a space that I can feel comfortable in.
Yeah, I imagine how I would feel is I could just rip off the mask sometimes you have to put on, be like, oh, thank God, okay, I can be me, you can breathe.
So Kate, beyond the idea of pronouns, what are some of the other ways that organizations can really create that inclusive space, or even promote some of the principles of equity, diversity, and inclusion?
Yeah, I think a really easy way is to be constantly learning. Things change all the time, and having resources where you can learn and really find these new ideas that may be unfamiliar, like pronouns, and consider how they may impact the space that you're in, and making that change so people can come into spaces and feel comfortable. We started an EDI library in our distribution centers that provides different books, podcasts, movies, things where people have that right at their fingertips of resources they can learn from to maybe learn about identities that they might not hold. Another one that is really easy is just having gender-neutral bathrooms. Everyone deserves to use the bathroom they feel the most comfortable in and shouldn't have to prescribe to a certain gender because that's all that they can have available to them.
And then something else we're going to start doing is we're putting together a Spanish learning club with other coworkers here, just because we thought it'd be fun to learn a new language together. And I think that's also another way you can include a more inclusive environment. Yeah. And then something the company is doing, or has done, I should say, is they've made the EDI guidebook, and also on our website is an EDI commitment statement. And I think that's also really important with creating an inclusive space, is just showing everyone that goes to our website, like, these are the things we stand behind. These are the things that, we believe in.
Yeah, and it really is important. But it's just to create that space where, and it's also good for workers too, for our staff to know that when they go in, hey, I can be myself. I can be who I am. You know what, Kate, Nicole, thank you so much for kind of taking the time to talk about this. And you know what, you might be wondering, like Second Harvest, whose mission is to end hunger in the communities that we support, why are we talking about creating inclusive spaces in honor of Pride Month? Well, the reality is that folks who identify as LGBTQ+, they are actually twice as likely to struggle with poverty and with food insecurity. And so anything we can do to help foster a society of inclusion, it will ultimately support all communities, including the LGBTQ+ community. And finally, we are not the experts in this. We acknowledge that we have lots to learn, but we are committed to doing the work of equity, diversity, inclusion, and really forwarding our journey on that. So if you would like to be part of the conversation, we encourage you to share with us how you are creating an inclusive space or how your organization is being committed to equity, diversity, and inclusion. Thank you.